So, welcome to Kisslegg, and we'll just have a little talk tonight because people have travelled a long way. Just to say that this is about something that's very simple. It's about the realisation that already all there is this. This is the whole. This is wholeness. It's complete already. There isn't anything else that's needed. So we won't be looking for something else. We won't be searching for a state of stillness or for silence or for self-inquiry about finding our own true nature or any of those sort of ideas that are often put out as though there is somewhere to go from here and look for something else. What's being communicated here is that there is nowhere to look for this, because already all there is this. So there won't be any meditation, there won't be anything that's formalised at all. In fact, there isn't anything on offer for the seeker. This is one of the few meetings you'll go to in the world which, for the individual, is completely and utterly pointless. There's nothing for the individual in this communication at all. And really, you could say that what will emerge is that what is being sought is unknowable. It can't be known, so it can't be found. It can't be grasped. It can't be possessed. There isn't something that can move towards it. There isn't something that can approach that which is already everything. So we can talk together and share ideas together, and that's what this is. This is not a teaching of any sort at all. There's no teaching here of any kind. There's nothing prescribed. And what's being talked about from this thing here, this magnificent body that stands in front of you, this message has nothing to do with this thing here. It's not anyone's message, it's just the message. It's just a communication out of nothing, to nothing, pointing to the reality that all there is this wholeness. So we can share together this perception, let's say, and look at it from all sorts of different ways. And obviously, whatever goes on for you, just share it. And somehow what happens is that in some way or other, at that level of talking together, there can be a sort of clarity that can arise about this. But clarity isn't liberation. Essentially, the dynamic of this message, the real dynamic of this message, is that it's completely uncompromising. And it's completely and utterly impersonal. So, in some way or other, the seeker is starved. Actually, there's a sort of starvation that goes on here with the seeker. The seeker's always saying, yes, but what about my true nature, or what about my stillness and that? But somewhere that whole idea that there's something that the seeker can get hold of is simply starved. And the dynamic of that is that the seeker can't get anywhere with anything here. There's nothing for sale for the seeker. And in some way or other, energetically, something else seems to arise. The other thing is that it seems that in some way or other, separation is an apparently contracted energy. When separation begins and the child goes into a separate individual, it contracts into a sort of fearsome place of its own. I mean, that sounds very dramatic, but there's a lot of contracted energy in being separate, and there's a lot of hard work in being separate too, because it's hard work to be an individual in the world. But there is a sort of sense of being in here. When I was a person, It felt as though I lived in this skin. I definitely was in here. Tony Parsons, the person, the separate person, was in this skin, and everything else was outside this skin. So whenever this looked at a tree, the tree was over there and was separate, and people were separate. He's separate to me. I'm over here, I'm something here, and he's something over there. So there was a feeling of being in something, seeing the world from inside. And so that's, for me, I would term as a sort of contracted energy. As far as I'm concerned, all there is energy, by the way. There's no God, there's nothing out there running this, there's just energy, there's just life, there's just beingness. It's completely wild. It's mad. It's just energy in any form. So one of the forms it takes is it pretends to be a contracted energy. It appears as a contracted energy. It appears as that. So in some way or other, what seems to happen is that that sense of being contracted somehow melts when there's an openness like this. Somehow melts in that openness. Nobody does it, but it seems to melt and dispel into boundlessness, into the boundlessness which is unconditional freedom. So we can talk together, but really in a way that's only an opening to something else happening. You could almost say talking together is an excuse for something else to happen.